father's fabulous news, and she'd finally figured it out. It's because after this, I'll be the only one in the family who's not married. But, honey, you are married, Claire said. Abi sighed, pain flaring through her. Technically, yes. But I was married for barely a year before we separated, and we've been apart for over 2 years now. I don't really think that counts. Her chest constricted at the thought of Liam. The whole ordeal around their separation, her hands tightened into fists, around their marriage, was still difficult for her to think about. It brought up memories that were too agonizing to relive. Claire slid her arm around Abi's shoulders and squeezed. I know it's been tough on you, but I still think you and Liam have a chance to make it work. I think the fact that he hasn't signed the divorce papers yet means he's not ready to let you go. No, Jamie said. It means the jerk's a son of a bitch who just wants to prolong Abi's suffering. She belongs with someone who'll make her happy. Dell will do that. Abi glanced at Jamie, who sat in the chair opposite the couch, sipping her wine. I always thought you liked Liam. The severe expression on Jamie's face softened. I did, until he hurt my little sister. When Abi got home, she slumped into her bed and stared at the ceiling. Both her sisters were home with their husbands now, Jamie with her 2 boys in the next room. Claire didn't have kids yet, but Abi knew she and her husband Bill were thinking about it. Her sisters had everything Abi had ever wanted, a life partner who loved them, a family, or the opportunity to have one soon. And now Kurt did, too. In a month's time, he would be married and working on his family. Where was Abi's happily ever after? She closed her eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. All she could think of was Dell and what might have been. Abi had met Dell at college the day she'd moved into her dorm room. She'd received a scholarship to pursue her master's in early childhood education at Brahms University in Eldridge, New Hampshire, the same place her brother Kurt had gone for his graduate studies. It was the first time she'd been away from her family since she'd done her undergraduate degree close to home, and she'd been feeling a little lost. Then Dell had shown up at her door. He was a friend of her brother's, and Kurt had asked him to look out for her. She still remembered glancing up to see the gorgeous man standing in her doorway. He'd smiled, his straight white teeth and the warmth glowing from his eyes making his whole face light up in a way that dug into her heart and tugged at her most intense feminine needs. When she'd shaken his hand, electricity had sparked up her arm, firing every nerve ending along the way. His hand had been so big and warm and comforting. In his warm olive-green eyes, flecked with what looked like golden stardust, she'd been sure she'd seen a reflection of the same intense attraction. He'd shown her around town and helped her integrate into the social life on campus. But because of his friendship with her brother, he'd insisted they remain just friends. She'd kept hoping. Her face flushed with embarrassment as she remembered when she'd practically thrown herself at him one evening, kissing him and telling him she wanted more from him than friendship. Despite the sexual tension between them, their friendship continued to grow. He was always there when she needed someone to talk to, and he looked out for her. He even introduced her to his best friend, Liam, clearly hoping she'd turn her attention to him instead. The moment she'd met Liam, she'd fallen hard. It would be easy to tell herself that she'd only needed someone to distract her from her feelings for Dell, but it wasn't that simple. The chemistry between her and Liam was spectacular, burning brighter than anything she'd ever experienced before, and both of them had mistaken that for love. Her gut clenched as her mind started along a path that would take her on a rapid downward spiral. Tears prickled at her eyes, and she brushed them away. She pulled herself from the painful memories, refusing to relive them right now. Over the long, dismal year when her marriage was falling apart, Dell had been there for her, encouraging her, trying to help her keep it together with Liam, who had sunk into his own man-cave of despair. After she'd finally ended it with Liam, Dell had been the one holding her hand. He had been the shoulder she'd cried on, and he'd helped her get herself back on her feet and focused on getting her degree, despite the fact that all she'd wanted to do was curl into a ball.